everybody, it's Dave here, and joining me is the one and only Mr. Darren Campbell, an old blogger from Grant's Tomb, Kick-Ass Blog Days, and of course, Deep Thoughts.
Not that old, Dave.
We're here
I'm
as
only 51.
two old bloggers. Well, I'll call us old because we've been blogging Vikings for a minute or two. We've gone gray, or at least I've gone gray doing it. So, hey,
Me too.
it happens. How are things up there in the far, far frozen Arctic North?
I'm fucking freezing up here, Dave. It's like minus 29 Fahrenheit today. And that's been like that all week.
And that's the ambient. That wasn't the wind chill. I looked at the wind chill earlier, and it was in the negative 50s.
No wind chill, still fucking cold.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a Yellowknife in late December for you, though. So,
Yep.
And not likely to change much for the next 2 or 3 months.
No. But, hey, it is what it is. At least we have Vikings football. And speaking
for
of...
another 3 weeks.
Yeah, for another 3 weeks. Speaking of which, you had some questions. And the first one I wanted to bring up, because it's a great question.
What up, Drew?
It is, why are the Vikings... or why don't they show a sense of urgency on offensive drives late in the game or even in the game at certain times? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, and this was something that Drew wanted me and you to discuss. So, being the people pleaser that I am,
Okay.
I figured that would be one of the topics. But it is something that bugs the shit out of me too, because I really look at the second half against Tampa, for instance, and that's just one example. But we're down 24-6,
Right.
I think it was. Midway through the third quarter, we get the ball. I was just looking it up to check out. We get a touchdown, but it's like we're down by 3 scores. We've got a quarter. We've got like 20 minutes left in the game. We proceed to go on. We got the touchdown, midway through the third quarter, but it was like a 12-play, 60-yard drive. We're like going in the huddle. We're using all the clock. And I realized that the defense has something to do with the pace that you play at as well, right? Like if they're not preventing you or playing good enough defense that you can't get these big chunk plays going, well, of course it's going to take you longer to move down the field and get in scoring position. But we got that touchdown. We get a quick stop on Tampa Bay. We get the ball with a little bit of time left in the third quarter, and we're still down by 2 scores. And we go on a 12-play, 50 or 40-yard drive. Same
that
thing.
lasted like 8 minutes.
Yeah,
over
8 minutes. And we missed the field goal because Bailey's brutal these days. But again, there was no urgency there. There was no quick huddles, no urgency, no quick huddles, no getting in and out of or getting our calls and getting a quick offense going, trying to get the defense moving and get them uncomfortable and save us some time and give us some more time. So if we score again, even if it's a field goal, we have more time to make that comeback. And we never seem to do that. And I think I don't know why the Vikings do it, but they seem to always do it. That they're very good this year at doing these clock killing long methodical drives, except in like the last 4 fucking minutes of the game, and then we go 3 and out or have a turnover after 4 or 5 plays. Then we can't go on these long drives when we need a dagger drive. But we have been pretty good at that. That seems to be kind of an offense that Kubiak and we are able to execute quite well most of the game. But there's an old, like, I used to still do, but I've done some coaching both in
Mm-hmm.
baseball and fastball and high school basketball. And there was a coach once. I was at a coaching clinic, and she was assistant coach for Canada's national basketball team. And she said, and this was the first time I heard it. I'm sure she didn't invent this
Mm-hmm.
saying, but she said, "It's not what you teach as a coach; it's what you emphasize." And what she was getting at there, and what she was saying there, is that sure, you can teach lots of stuff all through the course of the season, and you will. But what are the things that you're emphasizing that you want your team to be really, really good at and take on that character? And I don't think that the Vikings emphasize the 2-minute drills at all. There's a
Well,
lot of other things they're not emphasizing this year, but they are terrible at it. And anytime they have to do any quick they have to do a 2-minute drill at the end of the half or late in the game, or they don't execute very well. Oftentimes they fail at it. And I think that's also why they don't try to go no huddle and quick stuff
well,
at
and
other
there's
parts of the
technically
game.
a difference between no huddle and 2 minute. Now, no huddle is what it sounds like. No huddles. You're running off a script of plays, and the quarterback can generally call options at the line depending on what he sees. And the whole idea of a no huddle is that you're not giving the defense time to substitute players, right? They're not substituting players for what they see or expect due to down and distance or position on the field. So you're keeping them, you know, your foot to their throat. But you've got to be able to execute that and know that, hey, we do a play, we immediately go to the line of scrimmage, line up, we do a play. Everybody has to know that the next sequence in this play or in this memorized list is this play. They go line up that way. Then the quarterback, in our case, Kirk Cousins, has to sit there and look at what the defense is showing, and he can option to one or two different plays from a pass to a run to the right or to the left, whatever it is. He can option depending on what he sees, and that they keep going and they keep that defense, the 11 guys on there. And what's a good time to do that is when you get a favorable matchup of, say, they're in base, but you want to go deep or go to the outsides, you lock them into the base by doing a no huddle offense. Now, 2-minute drill, slightly different in the fact that you can have some quick huddles, whatever. Most of the same thing. You've got plays that you've already practiced, you already know, they're already coded. It might be Red Yankee 32 left, whatever. Some long play that you code to, we're running blue 1, right? You condense it. And a lot of those are more pass to the sidelines type stuff, big chunk plays, and there's few over the middle depending on the clock. But you're marching down the field with urgency, going for yards, rather than, all right, I'm going to do my 5 or 7 step drop back, fix a sandwich, see if Justin Jefferson gets open. If he's not, is Adam Thielen open? No, he's not. Oh, I'm about to be sacked. So I either take the sack or I dump it off to CJ Ham, in the flat. And it's irritating. These are things that coaches should be, and I know the Vikings have done in the past, do every single day in practice. Now, maybe because
but is it a point of emphasis?
Well, and it should be, and whether it be
look at how
Zimmer
many
or
times
whether
in
it
the
be
game where
Kubiak,
that's
they
been
both
a big thing we've had to do and accomplish and
Right.
score quickly.
Hey, Clifford. But it should be both by Kubiak and by Zimmer that they be able to get proficient at it, because it's what makes money when you're not out ahead by 2 or 3 touchdowns. When you're ahead by 2 or 3 touchdowns, take all the time you want. Hand
Absolutely.
off, to Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison and, Booney if he's in. Whomever. Give it to CJ Ham. Don't care. Eat up the clock. But if you're not behind, you need to be able to put your foot on the pedal and accelerate. And for some reason, this season, especially this season, we don't see it.
Yeah, they don't look. The Vikings don't look comfortable doing things quickly on offense. They seem to be. They've got to have things set up. They got to have their huddle. They got to survey the defense, take their time, and maybe is that because Cousins he operates better that way. Not so great that maybe he needs more time to survey the defense. I'm just talking out of my ass here.
He likes his scripts, and he's like a dancer learning the waltz, where he has the footprints put on the floor, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, he's that type of guy, but he likes his scripts. Our first possession drives are usually pretty good because they're all scripted. It's scripted plays. Mm-hmm. Well, the 2-minute and that hurry up should be relatively scripted plays. You may be changing the order up depending on the situation, but it should be scripted. But they need to be practiced. Now, my question is, do the changes in the CBA that limit the amount of practice time, or the fact that we're in COVID extreme protocol, the Vikings have been almost all season, that they don't get on the field, that they're doing it over Zoom, affect that they don't get this practice, that they don't get to practice these moves? And you've got to practice them and almost make them muscle memory. Are those the two reasons that are causing this?
I don't think so, just because that's the situation that all the other NFL teams have too, and some teams have been able to do these no huddles and the 2-minute offense with urgency quite successfully. Now, maybe if we were to look at things, we'd see, oh yeah, those teams are Seattle and and Green Bay.
They have a better quarterback. Yeah, they could go off schedule.
That's I'm sure that's got a lot to do with it, but I wouldn't use the COVID stuff as an excuse for the Vikings not doing very well at it. I don't think they were very good at it last year either.
Well, and I just threw those excuses out there for Drew because he loves them. They shouldn't have, because last year we didn't have COVID and we didn't have, I don't know if the CBA changed over the year, but it's basically the same offense with the addition of Justin Jefferson instead of Stephon Diggs. That should be in their memories from last year. So,
and it's not like we don't have, although we're not deep with playmakers, but it's not like you can say, oh, the Vikings don't have any weapons to be effective doing this. You got Dalvin Cook, you got Thielen, you got Justin Jefferson, you got even Irv Smith and Rudolph, who are, pretty decent tight ends when they're involved in the offense. And you got Cousins, who can make all the throws. So
why not?
And they move the ball just fine a lot of the time at other points in the game. So why would this be any different? In some ways, you'd think it'd be more effective if the teams are being more cautious in their defense and playing kind of prevent. You should be able to rack up the yards like we've seen so many quarterbacks do against the Vikings this year.
And at least get in field goal range for Bailey to miss.
Yeah. Don't go 3 and out with 2 sacks and a fumble. But it's a problem. It has not been corrected this year. Probably won't be corrected this year. Maybe next year, which is, I guess, a coined phrase for Viking fans. Maybe next year. Maybe next year we'll win the Super Bowl. Maybe next year we'll get a franchise quarterback. Maybe next year we'll get a new head coach and GM.
Clifford, I'm not sure about whether Zim trusts it. I suspect Zim puts full faith in Gary Kubiak, and it's Gary Kubiak's who I question on this. I don't see Zim on the sideline going, no, don't rush, slow down. That doesn't make sense to me. It may be true. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Certainly wouldn't make sense when you were down
couple scores
by 9 points with 5 minutes to go or whatever.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Moving
But a lot of
on.
things haven't made sense this year.
Moving on. You wanted to talk about Harrison Smith, right? The Hitman. Well, the Hitman's had a couple issues this season, especially.
He's been getting hit with a lot of flags.
This was the first one, I believe. He got ejected over this one.
No, that was
No. He
against
got
you.
the flag on that one. He got ejected over this one,
Yep.
right? That he was leading with the head. Well, now I'm seeing a wide receiver with his head down too.
Indeed.
But if you look especially at this hit from the other angle, you see that he's trying to move his head out of the way and lead with the shoulder. Now, your question tonight was, does Harry need to learn how to adjust his hitting, because he's obviously been targeted or looked at by the officiating crews this season?
Yeah, I think he's been. I think that was last game against Tampa Bay. I've like a you went over a couple, but I think that might have been his fourth leading with the helmet.
I didn't think it was that
15-yard
many,
penalty
but
this year.
It's been quite a few.
It's been quite a few.
It's been 2 or 3 easily.
I think it's been more, but
Okay.
either way, I might have been counting the CeeDee Lamb shot that you took, where I guess that was a defenseless receiver one that he got there. That looked like it would have been. But I did, yeah. Like, I feel that the Hitman is being targeted. I haven't seen any other player in the NFL get this many flags for the targeting, leading with the helmet, defenseless receiver as the Hitman has. And it's not like the hit against Tampa Bay and that one, as soon as the flag went out, I was like, what's that about? Oh, they probably are going to call a penalty on the Hitman because he was around the area. Sure enough, they did. And if you see the replay, and okay, full disclosure, I'm a Vikings homer, so most of these calls I'm not going to be very pleased with. But he was going down, but the receiver, the ball cutter, was also going down. So you've got so many. I don't know what Harrison is supposed to do. Should he be going in with his chest forward? Like, that doesn't seem like a very good tackling technique.
Well, either that or his hands forward.
Yeah, so
and that's what I could think. Back in the day, we were taught to lead with the helmet, but with our neck bowled, and then slide off onto the shoulder. Now it's just aim for the shoulder.
But that, I'm sure that it's not. I'm sure that Harrison Smith knows how to tackle properly. I'm sure he's been taught very well how to tackle since high school at Notre Dame and since he's been in the pros. But it's just so. I don't. Does he have to relearn how to tackle? I'm thinking maybe he kind of does. I don't know what, but I don't know how he's going to do that. Like, it's so difficult to be a defender these days. You can't lead with the helmet anymore, but the offensive player can.
Oh, yes.
You can't hit a defenseless receiver, but what is that sometimes? You can't hit the quarterback low, below the knees or whatever. But what if the quarterback kind of falls into you, or you get pushed in?
Right, or you can't touch the quarterback. He might get an owie. Yes, we know. It's changed versus the old days. He's talking about, Donnie was talking about the old days. The old days, defensive backs would go for your head, and literally they went for impact to try to knock the ball out. But when you go way back, I remember watching the Darryl Stingley game, and they went for the head. I mean, they were looking to take you out of the ball game. And that's the way that game was played back then. And it wasn't just defensive backs. The entire defense played that way. And the offense expected it, and the quarterbacks expected it because they weren't treated, like they wore skirts. But the NFL has changed over time to protect specifically the offense, the quarterback in particular, but the offense as a whole. so that they get more scoring. And we've had more scoring this year, too. It's a combination of probably that emphasis and the fact that defenses, for some reason, are behind.
And I understand not the concerns about tackling with the head. It leads to concussions. It's and all we know about CTE now, and you do want to get that out of the way. I just think that the penalties I've seen on Harrison, other than the Houston one, and even as you say, if you do the Zapruder film frame by frame on that one, you can kind of break it down too. But I don't think that he's leading with the head very much.
No, I don't think he's going in there to spear.
I think he's going down low to make a tackle, and then because
and a couple of them, I think last week's one, the guy was going to the ground and he went towards knee level, but the guy just got there at the same time.
Yeah,
and it's like he can't go any lower.
No, and there's no intent there.
No, so, and it's just.
And so what is as a defender, what are you going to do? Like if you're Hitman, the other option is to somehow alter the way you tackle, lead with the chest, or try to arm tackle, but then if you're that's probably going to lead to a less effective tackle. The offensive player is going to get by you, score a touchdown, and then you look like a dick because you didn't tackle properly. You look like Chris Jones, and then everybody's on you about that. I don't think there's a solution for this for Hitman. I don't know that he can do anything different. I do feel that the league's the officials, for whatever reason, have been targeting him. Maybe the preseason tape on leading with the helmet had highlights of him. I don't know, but the only thing that maybe that's good about it is that I do not notice that Hitman has been tentative. That this is causing penalties are calling. He's still playing the way he normally plays. Unfortunately, it's leading to some penalties, and that one against Tampa Bay was a costly one because we had him held to a field goal. They ended up extending the drive, and they get a touchdown. That's 4 extra points they got that they shouldn't have gotten. The game of a whole bunch of points that they shouldn't have got that they got, and that we didn't get that we should have got. So tough times for Hitman.
Well, I could see it going to where, when Aaron Rodgers ran into Anthony Barr and broke his collarbone, and they changed the rules the next season.
Yeah.
And how defensive rushers on sacks had to suddenly tackle different. And they worked on the bear hug type tackle. Yeah, I can see that migrating back.
Yeah, your target as a defensive player when those changes are made becomes like the size of a mini pie plate, and so you've got the small target. Your job is to get these guys down. Even if you go for that area, the offensive player can duck whatever, and all of a sudden you're penalized for that as well. When you were aiming for the area you were supposed to, but in a fast-paced game with great athletes that can move and duck and shuck and drive, you still get penalized anyway.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
So I don't know. It's but tough year for Hitman to be penalized as much as he has when he's just out there playing football.
And we'll see what happens. Moving on, you wanted to know, is Mitch Trubisky a tougher matchup for the Vikings than Nick Foles?
Yes, and this isn't the same question as is Trubisky a better quarterback than Foles?
No,
because I think probably although Trubisky doesn't have the Super Bowl ring, obviously, but I think that both of them are kind of a wash as far as how good of quarterbacks they are. But
there's a slight difference.
When we played Foles, I think that was the best pass rush game the Vikings limp pass rush has had all year. We had got a lot of pressure on Foles, and he's not very mobile. He could not escape what we were doing
as well.
And we blitzed a lot. Trubisky, for all his faults, is a very good athlete and can move.
Yeah, and he's tore us up in previous years running the football. And I remember
Well,
many games.
tearing up might be a bit of a generous
Yeah, but
term,
I remember
but
uh, Ted or Drew yelling on the board, "Can anybody stop him?" As he runs around the side and gets 10 yards for a first down. Um,
I think that he is not as, and this is a game which is an important game for the Bears, an important game for the Vikings. If either of them want to continue to play beyond
mm-hmm.
late December, we're both 7-8, and Trubisky is the guy who, even if we get a good pass rush, we might not be able to bring him down because he'll escape it. He'll run. He'll extend plays, get first downs with his feet when Foles cannot do that. And so I think overall that the Bears offense, he's a tougher matchup for our defense than Foles is. And I do worry a lot about his mobility, Trubisky's mobility and his ability to extend plays and keep plays alive and generate some positive yardage with his feet. When the last game we saw, the Bears really were offense did nothing, and Foles was a big part of that because he couldn't do those sorts of things.
Right.
The Bears also are probably going to have Montgomery back at running back, I expect. And though he's not a great running back, he's runs hard, and he's actually a running back. Whereas the last time the Bears had Cordell Patterson in there, who was not a running back,
Right.
at least not in name. And the last time Montgomery played us last year, and that was the season finale. But for the regular season, I think he rushed he had a big day, like well over 100 yards. So he adds a bit of the running element to the Bears offense too. Gives them probably a better shot at having a decent running attack, which they didn't have last game, which also helped the Vikings set up long down and distance and be able to try those blitzes, which is the only way they can generate pressure this year is by blitzing. So I am not. I'm concerned, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm concerned that Trubisky is going to be quarterbacking against us on Sunday. Very, very concerned.
Well, he is, and Las Vegas has it basically as an even game that the teams are almost equal, and
the Bears should be favored. We've been terrible at home.
Well, the Vikings are favored by 3, and that's basically your home field advantage. The Vikings have the better offense,
but no
the
fans.
Bears have the better defense, and we get Hakeem Hicks back for the Bears defense, who gave our offensive line some fits.
He always does.
It was Cleveland's first game, I think it was, first or second.
No, it would have been the second because Atlanta was his first game.
Okay, then it was second, and he did okay, and then Hakeem Hicks got injured and went out. Hakeem Hicks will be back for the first time this week, with a little bit of motivation, I believe.
Everybody should be motivated.
Yeah, on both sides, because they're playing for their playoff lives. If the teams want to, and I suspect they do, both players and coaches and everybody else, they've got to win. So they know that. They've got to come out with some urgency, which brings us back to where we started. Do the Vikings have that urgency, especially at home, when they've demonstrated coming out flat for just about every single home game? They got to be motivated, whether it's external via Zimmer or internal via pride in themselves. They better come out flying, or it's going to be a long Sunday.
Yeah, and they don't. Zimmer and the other coaching staff doesn't seem to be able to get them fired up and motivated. So, if it happens at all, it'll be all on the players, it would seem. Yeah, and Cliff's talking about any word on Hendricks. I did see that he didn't practice yesterday.
He didn't practice today either.
So he's not going to play. Unlikely.
So we'll see.
And yeah, hey, the Vikings aren't a very good defense with them. They're going to be worse without them, but at least we all know who to pick for a game of skull on defense. Todd Davis, tackling machine.
Yep. Anyways, with that, any last words?
Hoping I'll keep it short. I wanted to keep the video down to about 30 minutes so we didn't lose anybody. Didn't lose the 3 people watching. But my last words are, it sure would be nice to see the Vikings at home in particular play a solid, turnover-free, special team, mistake-free football game.
Uh-huh.
If they were to do that, I would feel much better about their chances of winning this one. If we play like we normally do, can't really see us winning.
Well, Darren, I hope you are 100% correct and that happens.
Usually I'm not.
And then we go in there and kick butt on Sunday, beating the Bears and putting them in their place. And we get back to 500 and one more step to the possible 7th seed in the NFC. Until then, I want you to join us tomorrow. Today is Vlogmas Day 17. Tomorrow on Vlogmas Day 18, Good Morning Gallahorn pregame show with the original crew will be live at the same time, 9 p.m. Eastern, to talk specifically that Chicago's Bear game. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay well imbibed, well fed, and as always, go Vikings! Skol!
Skol! Nobody can see my thumbs. There we go.
Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.